All right, everybody. From water mains to sewer drains, this is an introduction to the plumbing that exists, well, in everybody's home, residence, apartment, house. What happens in your house, where it goes, and, well, it's vital information. And from here, we will attack a little bit of internal plumbing in our homes, copper. Um, Here we go. Definitions that we'll run across in this presentation: water main, storm drain, wastewater, gray water, water meter, water main shutoff, water main header or a manifold, water line branch, plumbing fittings, and water hammer. Just some of the things that we'll talk a little bit about. Water main is the municipal water supply in your area. It's the big pipe that brings water to everybody's house, runs down the middle of the road, comes from the water treatment plant, and gets pumped. I think it's 15 pounds per square inch of pressure from the home, you know, uh, the home water distribution center. Storm drain, the piping that carries rainwater away. In newer residential areas, when it rains, water runs off your house, down your eaves troughs, and down into the sewers, and they're not the same as the sewage water, which is wastewater. There are two different piping systems under the roads all throughout your city. And in the older sections of town, it was all the same. You would have rainwater running down with your bath water and toilet water and sink water, and it would all go to the same place. But what they've done is they've realized the water that comes from rain doesn't need to be treated in the same way as water that has been flushed away out of your home. It needs to be cleaned on and using a different process. And I don't think we need to sanitize the storm water as much as we do need to sanitize the toilet water, as I'm sure all of you will agree. Gray water. Gray water comes from showers and sinks. It's often reused without treatment. It's really good stuff. It's a little bit of a greener process. Just imagine if you flush your toilet. Here's one of the best examples of the use of gray water, which I thought was fantastic. If you are washing your hands, after you go to the washroom, which is a fabulous idea, you wash your hands, you need clean water, of course. But if you're going to be just flushing that water down the toilet, let me back up a second. Let me explain the process. You go into the washroom and you do your business. When you flush, the tank fills with pure, clean water. Wouldn't it be interesting, and they have these, is after you finish going to the washroom, you stand up to wash your hands, but the sink is on the back of the toilet. So the soapy water runoff that you create after washing your hands, what if that water could be used to flush the toilet? Makes good sense to me. Right? You're using the same water twice. You touch it, sparkling clean water out of the tap, it goes down into the sink, drops into the back of the toilet, and fills the toilet that later you just flush away. Like, it's just fantastic. Anyway, that's gray water. It's not, fresh and clean. It's really interesting, some of the things that they're doing. Water meter. This is a device that counts the volume of water used in every household. It's basically a counter. The water pipe comes from the city main out on the street. You have a 3/4 inch or a 1 inch pipe coming into your home. It goes into a meter, and every time you turn the tap, it turns a little clicking counter, digital or analog. It turns a little counter. And every month you have someone come by, reads your meter, and says, oh, based on this counter, this is how much water you've used. We'll charge you for that much. And it happens every month. Water main shutoff. It's a valve in your basement that's probably connected to your piping system right next to the water meter. You'll see it. It's either a turn valve or a gate valve. Water main header. After the header, or after the water comes in and goes through your meter, all the different things in your home that need water supply are branching off of a big pipe, and it's got these a bunch of T's, and it's a big pipe that goes horizontal, and then with these T's, these vertical T's, they'll shoot off to the different areas, different bathrooms, different locations that need water. Water line branch is one of those branches, one of those lines that comes off the manifold. Plumbing fittings, 90s T's, things to connect copper piping to go left, right, up, down, splitting off. And a water hammer is an interesting thing. If anybody's lived in an older house, you'll know sometimes that when you turn the water on or off, you'll hear the water go bang and you'll hear the pipes bang. What that is the water flowing and then stopping, flowing and then stopping. The stopping slams. It's you're shutting it down really, really hard. A water hammer is a section of pipe that has air in it, and it's vertical, so it will never hold anything other than air. When the water wants to slam, it will actually push and compress that air. What it does is it stops the pipes from shaking and it just compresses the air. It acts as a cushion of air inside your piping system that relieves a lot of the pressure from that slamming. It's kind of interesting. Vent stack, drain pipe. Why don't we just get started? I'll read through these and then we'll see them in live action. So vent stack is the pipe that allows air to come in. Drain pipe allows the water to go out. PEX or Worsbo, it's piping other than copper. P-trap, that's the thing that we'll talk about underneath everyone's sink. Clean out on a wet stack. Drain snake auger. This is a tool that goes into your pipe if you got a clog to physically push things through. Drain slope, backflow preventer, and weeping tile big O, and a septic system. Let's talk about these. Water distribution system. If you take a look at this as a bird's eye view, water rains down. We don't have dams in this area, but some places do. We have lakes. This would be a gravity-fed system, so the water would be dammed up, and then they would just open the sluice gate, and it would go into the water treatment plant. We pump water from the Great Lakes, and it's not gravity fed, but we have these big honking pumps and they push them all the way over to the water treatment plant. There's two water supplies that we could come up with. The Great Lakes will feed the water treatment plants, as well as the water that we collect through sewage. We can actually recirculate that and clean it. We either send some of it back or we send it back out. So we are using a lot of water testing, a lot of filtering, and chemicals, and they use ozone, they use electricity to generate this massive amount of electricity. I believe last time I checked, it was like 26,000 volts of electricity will generate, maybe even more, but will generate ozone, and they create this ozone gas. Ozone gas bubbled up through water kills everything biological in the water, so it purifies and sanitizes the water. It's very, very cool. Even though ozone is very dangerous to breathe, it smells like the beach. It actually smells like, after a lightning storm. If you've gone outside in the rain, that's what it smells like. It's really interesting. Anyway, from there, it goes over to the rest of these systems. We've got water tanks in some areas that hold water up high that can be gravity fed, but then it's piped out. Oh, zone meter. Look at that. Looks like they have little meters all throughout the system, so they can tell how much water is passed through. This is where they collect a lot of information, where they can determine the efficiency of their system. So water is piped out to all the homes, district meter, like your neighborhood would have one, and then it goes to each home, and in each and every home, there is another meter saying how much each of these different homes has used. Metered area, district metered area. Look at this. This is a great little system here. So this is I've worked in places like this, and yes, can you tell me what this water is made of? Ugh, nastiness. Well, that's piped in from your toilets, from your sewers, and I wrote this. No swimming. Lifeguard not on duty. This is what it looks like. If you go to the, I believe it's the west end of town, there's the water treatment plant. Yes, it's the place that doesn't smell so nice, but you'll see these big collecting ponds, and they're bubbling up. This is a settling pond. This is where the skimming pond. They'll scrape off a lot of the solid waste that's in there. Now, water main to the meter. But wait a minute. This is the water coming in right here at the bottom. This plastic. This is this PEX plumbing or Worsbo. It is very, very handy. Very, very handy. There's no soldering required. It's compression fitting. It's really cool. It comes in. There's the main shutoff. This is a bad setup, and I'll tell you about that in just a second. But the water comes in, goes through the meter, and goes to the rest of your house. When you want to shut off the water to your house, shut this one off. If you live in a house where you have a handle here, that's not legal. This is an illegal setup. Because you could, well, I won't tell you what. And on the right over here, this is the top. This is the top of this little meter right here. Right here, cubic feet. This is how much water this house has used in total. It just goes on and on and on and on and on. Every month they'll take a look at this number and they'll subtract last month's reading from this month's reading, and the difference is how much water you've used in that month. There. Manifold destiny, branching out. This is that manifold I was telling you about. Water comes in past the meter, valve is open, so the water feeds into this bigger pipe. From this pipe, this manifold, branch lines will feed every other unit in your home. Simple as that. And I'll show you a water hammer coming up. I don't see a water hammer yet, but after you use everything, water is fed to it from the meter past the valve to all the plumbing fixtures in the home. So what we've got here is the plumbing. You may have an open set of plumbing pipes in your basement. And in your basement, it might be a copper pipe, which is pretty slick. Most of the time, it's going to be black plastic or PVC. You could also have cast, which is a black pipe that is metal and it's rough. You could have any. You can even have a combination of these three, but generally, it's one of those three. So after the water supply feeds your sink, lavatory means bathroom, or lave, French, I think, for washing. Water goes down. It's got to go somewhere. So the water goes down. Blue represents where the water is going. But what is this yellow? This yellow here represents the same piping in the same system, but this is not wet. This is just air in these lines. Here's another picture of it. Water comes in, fills the back of the toilet. And this is the whole gray water idea. If this sink was on top of the toilet, and they sell these toilets where you can wash your hands here, and the dirty, soapy water from your hands fills here, and then goes into the toilet and then flushes away. So you're using the same water twice. Talk about brilliant. But water will go down, and this here, again, vent piping. Vent piping is so that air can go in. This is what a vent pipe does. If you want the water to flow out of your house, you must let air replace the same volume of water in the pipe. It's like taking a straw in a glass of milk or water, put your finger over the top, lift it up, and the milk or liquid stays inside. Because in order for the liquid to flow out, air has to flow in. Same type of thing in your house. In order for the water to drain out of your sink, there doesn't even have to be a clog in your piping, but in order for the water to go down, air has to replace it, has to go in. So this is actually in your residences. Look up on the roof. You'll see a black 3-inch pipe sticking out the top of the roof. That's a vent pipe. Now, that's not anything blowing out. That's air going in. Now, there is something that's really interesting about that. This P-trap is something that is beneath your sink. It's also part of your toilet. If I could go back here, you take a look at your toilet right here, this little gooseneck or P-trap. This is a P-trap here, this gooseneck on your toilet. They do the same exact thing. If you take a look at this, this is air in here, but there is nothing stopping, because if you were to go on your roof, this smells kind of bad, because this has a straight line down to the stinky innards of your piping. And it's really, really stinky. If you did not have this P-trap, then all the stinkiness of this pipe where your toilet and everything drained into, and it's gooey, it's disgusting on the inside of these pipes. But if you didn't have this P-trap here, you would smell all of this, because the sewer gases would be wafting up into your home. But a P-trap holds a little bit of water, and every time you pour something down, this water pushes away, but leaves a little bit of clean water in this lower section of the P. See right here, if you take a look, these sewer gases would leak up. And you'll find sometimes if you have a bathroom in the basement that you haven't used in forever, this water will disappear. It will start to evaporate, allowing air to pass through and sewer gases to come out. And the only way to fix it is turn the water on for a second, fill up your P-trap. It acts as a sewer gas plug. It's really great. It's a straight shot from your sinks and drains to the sewer. Luckily, your plumber included a barrier that sewer gases cannot penetrate. A water barrier held in place by the piping that is shaped like a horizontal P that traps water in the low point and prevents you from smelling what your neighbor had for dinner. Yeah, I wrote that and I thought I was pretty proud of that. Anyway, flow away and never come back. If you've seen Lord of the Rings, you'll know why that is hilarious. Water goes down from your eaves, down into the storm sewer. Storm sewer collects rainwater, and it's not the same thing as sanitary. So keeps it separate, minimizes, I think, the chemicals that we have to put into the water and then back into the environment. You're collecting rainwater, it just goes away and just kind of recycles. Your eaves, there is an enormous amount of water that falls on our roofs. Just take a look at the square footage, the area that collects water and then routes to your downspout. It's a lot. And if we didn't have storm sewers, our backyards would be flooded because we would just be concentrating the water that we dump into our front lawns and grass. So, water treatment plant. There's that nastiness again. Septic systems. If you live out in the county, you may be on a septic system. A septic system is your own private backyard water treatment situation. So all of your stuff, you've got to be careful too what you flush down the toilet. If you live in a residential area that has sewers, a lot of the stuff that we flush down the toilet, like baby wipes and things like that, they get filtered out by mechanical screens. They're literally scooped out of the water and then taken to the landfill. That's where they end up. In a septic system, if it's not biodegradable, it will just stay there, clog up your septic system, and you will have to clean it out more often than you should. If you have a septic system, it is a backyard setup, roughly like this, with maybe some different modifications, older, younger, or older or newer versions. But all the internal systems are installed the same, with some modifications of practice and use of facilities to accommodate waste degradation. That means decomposition. Only compostable material allowed, or it will clog up the system and build up. And it's kind of expensive to come have it cleaned out. But it takes a little bit of maintenance. You have to become your own waste management engineer for your own system. So a lot of people will buy toilet paper that is much more biodegradable. They will really limit what they flush down there. Definitely no chemicals in there. You've got to basically treat this as a little compost heap underground. It's quite a system, but you're completely self-contained. Add a well water system to this, and you're completely off the grid water-wise. Lifespan of a septic system, and the average life expectancy is about 25 years if you treat it well. It'll be trouble-free as long as you take good care of it. Contrary to popular belief, it's not good news to hear. I've never had to clean the pump to pump the septic tank. You've got to pump it out. If you have to pump it out more, then it's not, kind of biodegrading. It's not breaking it down. Most people don't have septic systems, but it's really interesting to know that some people in a farmhouse, if you end up buying a home out in the county, you have to take a look and see if you're on septic system, because it's a whole other list of chores you have to take care of. But if you do it well and understand how the system works, you should be fine. Anyway, there is that. And I think that was okay. Hopefully you enjoyed this and you learned a couple of things. If you have any questions, please let me know. This is posted to Google Classroom in a couple of different areas. So I'll say no more on that. Let's go back to the Microsoft. Here we go. All right. Well, thank you for listening.